Hello there, this is Mr. Steffen, and today in your Foundations of Technology class, we're going to be talking about problem solving. And we're talking about problem solving because problem solving is something that everyone, including you, do every day in your life. You just might not think about it. Take, for instance, brushing your teeth. If you brush your teeth in the morning and you go to the bathroom and there's no toothpaste, you automatically start figuring out how you're going to get more toothpaste. You either go to the store and buy some, or you ask your mom for some, or you just don't brush your teeth. Either way, you're solving a problem. And you do that throughout your whole day, and it just becomes natural. However, in the technology world, we have to be more strategic about how we go about this because the way we solve problems affects life of other people as well as ourselves. So today I'm going to start by telling you a story. I am a sleepwalker, believe it or not. And the other day, well, first of all, I sleepwalk everywhere. Sometimes I'll wake up in the other room. Sometimes I'll just wake up standing on the bed. It happened. It's a problem. And the other day, I woke up and I had parked the car in the tree, as you can see. And this is a problem because if I want to drive my car to school to teach you, I'm going to have to figure out how to get it out of the tree. And so, we're going to use a definition to for problem solving as something that is used to satisfy people's technological needs and wants. And so, my technological need is that I need to be able to drive my car, and I want to get to school, and that's the problem I need to solve. And so, one solution to this would be hiring somebody with a crane truck lift to get it out of the tree so I can drive it to work. But when we're talking about problem solving, we are talking about two different areas of problem solving. The first one is there's problems that need to be solved. And the second one is there's opportunities for improvement. Um, when we talk about problems that need to be solved, we're talking about technological problems, or problems where you need to develop tools, machines, or systems. And these are, for instance, people used to have to, if they were across the ocean, communicate with a 6 month delay, meaning that they'd have to write a letter, put it on a ship, and then somebody in 6 months would get it. Now, that's a communication problem, especially if you were wanting to tell them, hey, my dog died. Can you come visit? When there's a 6 month delay there and a 6 month delay back, that's a problem. So somebody created a telephone system. Actually, it was probably a whole group of people, and Thomas Edison got the credit for it, but they created this telephone so we could communicate faster. And that's a part of a system which is made up of the telephone poles and the telephone wires. And then now this system has evolved to satellites. And so a system has been created to solve the problem of communicating over long distances. Now, when we're talking about opportunities for improvement, we're talking about improvement within technology. And this doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. It just means that something needs to be improved. Say, for instance, this old teapot. This teapot, even if it's 100 years old, still works just fine. And but somebody thought along the way that I should improve this. I want to do something better. So they made this teapot that is electric and it drips the coffee in. They didn't create the coffee is still the same, and the process was still the same. They just made it quicker and more automatic. So there wasn't necessarily a problem. They just improved upon it, and then somebody made a Keurig which improved upon this Mr. Coffee machine. So remember, for opportunities for improvement, there's not necessarily a problem. It's just a process is being improved. And then with the technology world, there's strategic steps that need to be taken to solve problems. For instance, my car in the tree. I cannot just go take a rope and lasso the car and pull it out of the tree. Well, I guess I could. However, if I do this, the car is probably going to fall on me or fall on somebody else. I'll probably get arrested. I won't make it to school. I create more problems. And so when I do this, say for instance, if I'm trying to get this out of the tree, one step might be that I call uh, the police, let them know there's a car in the tree. I let them know we're going to have to block the road to get the car out of the tree. I tell my neighbors this so they don't stand around and get hurt. There's a lot of things that you need to do. I need to figure out how high the car is off the ground, how much the car weighs. Is the car going to blow up? There's a lot of things you have to think about, a lot of strategic steps that need to be taken. And just like with these cans and talking into these cans, and then going from that to the telephone here, and then going from the telephone to a cell phone, there's just years and years, and there's a lot of people and planning involved in how we get to the next step of solving a problem. And we're going to talk about 4 steps for solving these problems. Some people say there's more, some people say there's less, but we're going to use 4. The first step we're going to use is to identify the problem. Before you can solve a problem, you have to know there's a problem. Just like you running out of toothpaste, you realize there's no toothpaste, or like me realizing my car is in the tree. We have to recognize it. The second step is developing solutions. We have to start coming up with ideas. The third step is evaluating solutions and deciding which solutions are the best. And the fourth is communicating solutions. How do we tell other people about our problems and what we want to do to solve them? So identify the problem, number 1, developing solutions, evaluating solutions, and communicating solutions. And then within these, we're going to go a little more in depth. So when you identify the problem, then you want to describe the situation and gather background information. We're going to describe the situation. We're going to start writing down notes about, like I said, how high is my car in the tree? How much does it weigh? Things like that, so that we can start coming up with accurate and safe solutions. And then gathering background information. Has this happened before? We don't need to always reinvent the wheel when somebody has solved a problem before us. And then establishing criteria and constraints. This is a big deal. And the criteria and constraints might be that there's no lift that can lift my car. That would be a constraint. It would be holding us back. They're criteria, and we can only get a car out of a tree from 8 to 4. That's criteria. We cannot just do anything we want all the time. There are limits, just like a speed limit on the road. That's an example of a criteria and a constraint. There are things that are meant to keep us safe, or there's things like if we are going to build a machine, but there's no plastic available, that's an example of criteria and constraints. There's things we have to, limits that are put upon us. In developing solutions, we can develop possible solutions and isolate and refine the best solution. We have to, after we've developed solutions, then we have to figure out which one is the best. And it's not very often that the first solution is the best. The man who created the Dyson vacuum had 5,000 prototypes made before he got to the one he wanted. Thomas Edison had over 1,000 failures or light bulbs that did not work the way he wanted them to before he got to the one he liked. And then sketches and drawings. We have to start visualizing what we're going to do. And this is not just for us, but it's for other people. And we have to start measuring and weighing and planning out what our solutions are going to look like. And evaluating solutions. Model and test the best solutions, and then select the best solutions. We have to create prototypes. We have to make a model for what machine or system we're going to make. When they went to the moon the first time, when NASA went to the moon, they could not test the moon buggy or test what walking around with no gravity would be like on Earth. So they had to create models and they had to create systems to test this. And that's the same thing we have to do. And then compare solutions to economic, technical, and production constraints. Like I said earlier, we don't have enough. Nobody has enough money to buy every machine they need or all the materials. Sometimes you have to go raise support, or maybe there's rules that are limiting what you can buy or what system you can build. If there's no copper wire available and you need 1,000 feet of copper wire, then that's going to be a problem, and you have to start thinking of how that's going to affect the solution you've come up with. And then communicating solutions. We have to interpret the solutions through engineering drawings, bills of materials, and spec sheets. Then we have to present solutions for approval through written and oral reports. This is where your public speaking, yeah, listen to me speak. Public speaking and your English and literature classes become valuable, because it's not very often that you're going to be the end of all ends for your project. You're going to have to get someone else's help, and you're going to have to communicate through reports and through speaking what you want to do and why they should help you. If you've ever seen the show Shark Tank, people come up with these great ideas, but if they don't know how to communicate them to the people who are going to give them money, then they're not going to give them money. So you have to be a great communicator to be a problem solver. And using engineering drawings and bills of materials, people want to know how much you're going to spend. People want to know what is going to be required to build your solution. And so this all goes into problem solving, and it's all part of the process that you already internally, in a very broad sense, do. But as we go through the semester, I want you to start thinking of how to be more specific and how to more strategically solve problems, because you're going to be faced with some problems that are more intensive than just getting more toothpaste. And so that's the problem solving. And as we go on and throughout the semester, we'll go more in depth on this. Thank you for listening.